Hi, welcome to Steph's World, Spiritual Foundations, number 38. I think that's what it is. You are going to have to forgive me. I do this a lot. And if y'all watch my videos, you'll notice, oops, she did it again. But it doesn't matter which number it is to me. It really doesn't. It does, of course, when I'm saving the video. But other than that, so what? It could be number one as far as I'm concerned. Uh, I'm going to carry on about some things that I talked about in the last video. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I hope you watch it to the end. I know, I've been told, I don't like watching an hour. Yes, I heard that just today. But you know, sometimes I get on a subject and it's hard to know when I'm supposed to let go, because I ask God for direction and guidance before I begin. In fact, I'm going to do it right now, right again, okay? Dear Lord, I ask for your direction and guidance and wisdom before I begin this. Okay. Now, I'm a lot better today than I have been for 2 weeks. You know, that sadness and stuff when we live through burying a child and them dying and all that. It does go away, and things do get better. And I've written a blog about it and put that out there. And I hope some of you read it. If you go to my profile page on Google+, you'll see it. And it talks about it a little bit. Anyway, I want to talk about children today. That's where we're going to start. But we're going to also talk about us as adults, okay? I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine this morning, and this is a friend that he asked me to help him with some of his spiritual problems. And so I did. This was several years ago. And we lived in the same city at the time, so, you know, he would come over, I think, twice a week, you know, and we'd spend, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours working on this. Now, when I started my work 19 years ago, as a matter of fact, on Monday, it'll be precisely 19 years ago that I let go of a very seriously messed up life. Okay? And 5 years after that, I met one of the most spiritual women I've ever met in my life. And she helped change my life. And it was all meant to be. Everything in our lives is meant to be. Everything. I'm going to get into that. Now, when I asked this lady to be my spiritual helper, to help walk me through my spirituality and help me learn more things, because, you know, I really thought I knew quite a bit at that point, 5 years. I honestly did. Now, I hadn't taken my metaphysics class yet. That was to come. Now, here's the first thing she said to me. She said, "Darling," and she was from Louisiana, so she talked a special way. And she said, "Darling, Are you ready to let go of everything you ever knew? And I mean everything. And I thought, what is she talking about? Everything. I thought I already did all that. And I said, oh, okay. So she laid down the rules here. And she said, now, when we visit, you're going to have a pad and paper, a notebook, and you're going to date it, and you're going to write down everything I tell you to write down. I said, okay. I still wasn't sure about this idea of letting go of everything I always knew, because I thought, like I said, I thought I already had done that. Oh, no. No. I sure hadn't. But I had made a start. There is no question about that. You know, letting go of all your preconceived ideas is a huge deal. And if you think it's an easy thing to do, think again. It's tough as nails. It's so difficult. It's unbelievable. And on top of that, you're not even sure if you're really letting go of this stuff, okay? You have to keep working at it every single day of your life. You can't stop. You have got to keep working at it. Now let's talk about, I'm just going to mention this briefly, and then I'm going to talk about some other things. I'm going to read about some things that I was taught. Okay. One of the big things that I learned from this lady, and she was definitely divine, a divine messenger. I feel that way. I will always feel that way. And you know, I believe that people and angels, human angels, are put in our lives at just the right time, just the right moments, to do just the right things. That's what I believe. So anyway, we went back in time, and we did what we call an inventory, and now I've done an inventory. That's why I say, you know, I thought I'd cleaned out the cobwebs. Well, we did one heck of an inventory. And we hit on some stuff that I never realized until I got this divine help. And I call it divine because I know it was. I never would have learned this without her help. Not ever. I found out that within here and within somewhere around me, because the soul might not necessarily be in the body. Nobody can know where the soul is, so don't think you can. Nobody knows that. I had a psychologist tell me one time, I can see your aura. And he wasn't the only one. So that soul may be right outside, be sitting right around us. Okay? But anyway, now here's my point. The soul's not infected with this. It's us in our lifetime right now. It's me. I was. Not today, but I was. Shame and guilt. That happened when I was a child. It didn't happen when I was an adult doing crazy things, getting drunk, getting high, overdosing, trying to kill myself in a different way. It wasn't then. I have no shame and guilt about any of those experiences. I had to live those experiences to get where I'm at today. That was the only way for me. But it doesn't have to be that way for you, or for your children, or for your grandchildren, or your great-grandchildren. Now, I have some theories, and I have an idea that I think has been divinely given to me. And I'm getting ready. I have 3 blogs I'm going to write. And I discussed that with that friend of mine today. And one of these blogs is going to be deep. And I mean deep. It's going to be a spiritual blog, but it's going to be historical. I think that if anybody reads it, they're going to be very surprised about a few things. And then the next blog is going to be what's happening in the last 100 years to our country and to our world right now. And the third blog is going to be my vision. My vision and how we might get there. Okay, now, shame and guilt. That's a toughie. See, when you were little, I know when I was little, you know, we're new little souls. We're not new souls. We're probably very old souls, but we're new souls in this new body, okay? And we're in a new place, a new world, and hey, oh man, let's check things out. You ever watch a kid? You ever watch a little kid? Oh man, it's wild. It's wonderful. My neighbor has 2 little babies. Oh, I love it when I'm with them. I just love it. You know, in the past, I'll be honest with you, the type of things that little children do would bother me because I was so selfish. I was so selfish. But today, I love it. They can't do enough. I just love watching them. They're wonderful. And she's a wonderful mother. Let me tell you something. This gal, she is young and she has got it together. And so does her husband. And they are wonderful people. And they're doing wonderful ways of teaching their children. And I love to be around them. Anyway, I don't feel shame and guilt within this child. She's almost 2, she'll be 2 years old in a couple of months. I don't feel it. Not anything. Not from her. But I have felt it from other children her age. See, that shame and guilt starts real early. We parents have it too. It started real early for us. Your parents and my parents had it too. It started real early for them. Okay? Now, let's think about this for a minute. Passing it down. Passing it down. Passing it down. See, that's typically how that shame and guilt and a lot of other teachings happens in the childhood. We as parents are the teachers, or at least we think we are. Sometimes we need to let the children be the teachers, and we need to step back and not worry about our walls getting crayon on them, not worry about any dirt being brought into the house by that child, not worry about a mess that the child made in one room. We need to stop all that. We need to help guide our children. We need to watch them and see what they're drawn to, what they like to do. Now, there is something else that I believe that we as parents are required to do, but not overly. You know, we got to find the balance. I think we as parents have to protect our little ones, because there are people, even in our own families, who are sick. They're sick. I want you to remember that. Sick. They're not demented. They're not bad people. They're sick. And if they're in your family, they came from your family. They're part of you too. So you don't just turn them off because they're screwed up somehow. They're messed up. Somewhere they got a lot more shame and guilt going on than you do. Or they have some terrible event that happened to them as a child. But instead of treating that, you know what our country does? They put them in jail. They put them in jail. This is the thinking of our nation. And I want you to keep something in mind. We're the creators of that thinking. We create how our country is. We are the creators. There's no blame going on here. You want to blame someone? Blame yourself. Either you're not doing enough to help change yourself and to help make this country a better country, or you're just sitting back and letting it become what it's becoming and not doing anything about it. But you have to change you first and foremost. Okay, before it gets too late, because I don't want to make this a long one. Now, first thing I'm going to do is read, let's see, the greatest blessing in the world now. Let's see. I depend on outside of me. This is what I used to be. Pride, vanity, and ego. Now, the day they get rid of me is in my God value. When I know I've been of value to this world. Okay, that's kind of deep, so we won't go there. Failure. I was always afraid. Now, that was the truth. That's another problem. Fear. Shame, guilt, fear. 3 big problems. Failure. Why don't our children succeed? Why do some succeed and some don't? Fear. Fear. Okay. Emotional deformities and shortcomings. 6 things we choose in childhood to do. Our will is what we want, and our lives is what we get. Our will is what we want, and our lives is what we get. This is in childhood. Number 1, we try to improve or be different. I know I did. Number 2, we try to please. And some of us really try to please. Number 3, okay, here we go with Steph's. We have listened or tried to follow what we hear from authorities. Okay? We have listened or tried to follow what we hear from authorities. Okay. This is what sets up our conflict every day of our lives. Okay? Right there. That sets up our conflict every day of our lives. Okay, next. You're going to love these. We complain. We blame. We stick up for our rights. It was his fault. He talked me into it. Yeah, he talked me into it. It was his fault. That went against my rights. He needs to be punished. She needs to be punished. So here we go. How do we get rid of some of this? Now, some of the quickie stuff. We start building our accounts against people every day. That's a problem. Those accounts can never be paid. Observe it. This is something you can do right now. Observe it and release it to God. Observe it. Observe your complaining, your blaming, and sticking up for your rights, because those are the biggies right now. Judgment and criticism will be released. It will be released. Take that into my parents, and we choose our challenges. Okay, so when we complain, we take that into our parents, and we choose our challenges. Okay, it's too complicated in this other part, so I'm not going to go further with that. Now, I have some other things here that's a little less involved. You're not ready for some of this yet. Now, I want to read something first before I go to my next notebook. You'll love it. Blaming. Who am I blaming for my emotional pain when I feel it? Who am I blaming? Do you ever think about that? Or do you even think that you're blaming me? Well, I bet you are. How much you want to bet? Money? Actually, money doesn't mean that much to me. Just doesn't. Because my God, my Creator, provides all my needs. Now, humility, being in a serene state, regardless of what happens in our lives. True willingness to follow the will of God unquestioningly with complete and utter acceptance. The purpose of living is to become a fully conscious being. That's the purpose of living. Becoming conscious and aware. The only thing wrong with me is that I think there is something wrong with me. I love that one. Okay? Now, these are some very important quotes. Now, don't have it written down just who wrote all this stuff, but I'll read some of it to you. I must let God help release me from my guilty secrets and learn to forgive myself for those things that are past. I put myself into God's hands. Okay. Here we go. This is by August Wilson. You get to the point where your demons, which are terrifying, get smaller and smaller, and you get bigger and bigger. Oh, yeah. Now, when I've experienced feelings of jealousy, I've been insecure and not happy with myself. I would like to accept myself and know that God loves me for who I am. If God can accept and love me, then I should be able to also love me. I need to learn to accept God's will. And I cannot control the actions or destiny of another. Now, I'm going to throw something in on that one. I also have no power over the destiny and the will of another. None. They make their own choices in their lives, like we all do. Okay. I can't really read who this is by. It's by the Upanishad. Okay, you have to forgive me on that. Okay, let one therefore keep the mind pure, for what a man thinks, that he becomes. Now, how often have we heard that? I want you to think about this. We need to learn to live, to focus on something good or useful to our lives and let the rest of the world go about its business. That's out of how can I help my children. And I must treat myself as I would a gentle creature of God, with tenderness, patience, compassion, wonder, and love. Okay. Now, I'm going to read you something. This is out of Emmett Fox, Find and Use Your Inner Power. This is, there's a couple things here. Spotlights. These are just like some quick things here. God is not interested in your past history, but in what you are now. Now is the day of salvation. You are healthy because you are happy, not happy because you are healthy. A healthy body grows out of a happy mind. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. If you have no time for prayer and meditation, you will have lots of time for sickness and trouble. Now that's the truth. Trust me on that one. Where you stand today does not matter. It is the direction in which you are moving and the rate at which you travel that count. Let me tell you something real quick. I've talked about this before. We're never standing still. Energy is always moving. Okay? The question is, which direction are you going? Forward or back? Which direction? Take a look at your life and figure that one out. You need some help? You know what? There's a special place to start going now if you need help with that. I'll talk about that on another video because it's getting kind of late. Okay, the biggest fool of all is the man who bothers about outer things and neglects his own spiritual development. Why do I know a lot of people like that? But I try not to judge them. I know that those people, and they're people that I really, really love with all my heart, just need to find their faith in God. That's all they need. The real faith in God. The only depression that you can meet is a depression thought in your own consciousness. You really do not know John Smith. You only know the idea that you form of John Smith. Okay, not sure where that came from. Now, here is one of our cosmic laws. Cause and effect. Whatever you experience in your life is really but the outpicturing of your own thoughts and beliefs. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. We talked about it just a little bit ago. We are the creators. You are the creator of your own life, of the world around you. Now, what is it you want to create? You need to ask yourself that, and don't tell me I want the best game thing controller I can have. That's sick. If that's what's most important to you, well, I'm sorry for you. I really am. Because you'll find out as you grow up that there's a lot more important things in life than this kind of stuff, believe me. Much more. Now you can change these thoughts and beliefs. And then the outer picture must change too. If you change, the world will change. People seem to think that they can't do anything. I've heard this so much, this helplessness and hopelessness. Come on, get past this. It's time you changed. Let's change our world. Come on. Aren't you ready for that? And I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you some ideas on how to do that. But you got to start with you first. It's got to start here before it can go anywhere else. The outer picture cannot change until you change your thought. Your real heartfelt conviction is what you outer picture or demonstrate, not your mere pious opinions or formal assents. Okay, now, I believe what Emmett it was referring to was not the picture you're trying to give people. We're talking about what's really in the soul. Your soul. That I believe is around you. It's part of you. It's attached. But, you know, it's funny. They say, well, we're going to scientifically find out if there is a soul. I don't need anybody to scientifically find that out for me. I already know there is. I've seen it in other people. Oh, yeah. I got some stories I could tell you. And they aren't stories. They're the real thing. Okay, now. Convictions cannot be adopted arbitrarily just because you want a healing. They are built up by the thoughts you think and the feelings you entertain day after day as you go through life. So it is your habitual mental conduct that weaves a pattern of your destiny for you, and is not this just as it should be? So no one else can keep you out of your kingdom or put you into it either. The story of your life is really the story of the relations between yourself and God. And the day you wake up to that will be the greatest day of your life. The greatest day of your life. Now, I'm going to read one more thing. And you may be freaked out by this, but, oh well. That's Steph's world. Now, well, the answer is that this life that you are living today is not the only life, and that it cannot be understood when judged by itself. The answer is that you have lived before. Not once, but many, many times. And that is, in the course of these many lives, you have thought and said and done all sorts of things, good and bad, and that the circumstances into which you were born are but the natural outcome of the way in which you have lived and comported yourself in your former lives. You are reaping today, for good or evil, the results of the seeds that you have sown during these many previous lives. The Bible says, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. And that text states the truth. And it cannot be made to mean anything else. You who read these words have lived many, many times before in different ages, in different conditions, under different skies, and in different civilizations. Many times you have been a man, and many times you have been a woman. You have probably been very rich and very poor, and probably you have sometimes been highly placed in the world. And sometimes your place has been lowly. Some of these who are at the bottom of our social ladder today have walked the earth as kings and presidents and generals and admirals and high priests, and some who now sit at the seats of the mighty have toiled as simple peasants in days gone by. Pulled at the oar of a galley, or worn the chains of a slave, and you yourself, in the future ages, centuries from now, very likely, will return to this earth planet and be born again as a baby in some family and grow up and probably marry and live out another life. And the conditions under which you start that life will be the outcome of the lives you have already lived. But most particularly will they be the outcome of the life which you are living in at the present time. That briefly is a story of the life of man. What is customarily called a lifetime is really but a comparatively brief day in a long, long life. Now, if I read you this whole book, it would give you, and I'll probably read some more of this book, it would give you a bunch of Bible passages out of the holy book, the Christian holy book. Yeah. I read one. Yep. I want you all to think about it. I don't care whether you believe it or not. That's your choice. I'm just trying to give you a little more information here. Now, the main thing, though, about this session today is that who we are and what we present is what our world will be. So if we want change, guess who we must change first? Us. And let me tell you something. You think that's an easy thing to do? Guess again. Have a great day. I'm going to help you if you want my help. I'm here. Don't worry. And I ain't no expert either, but I love you. Bye-bye.